Hello, mech fans. This is Duncan Fisher. Hold on firmly to your mana potions, fireballs, and familiars, because you are tuning in to your regularly scheduled episode of the First Circuit Podcast.
And with that, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the First Circuit Podcast episode 119. We've got a lot of spicy things for you today. Some quick topics regarding the Mechwarrior Online events and sales, just the usual things. We want to quickly talk about NVIDIA RTX Voice, which is a game changer for voice over IP communication. There's been an announcement for the MW5 DLC, Heroes of the Innisphere, and it actually doesn't even sound that bad. And the big discussion right now, Mechwarrior Online, a future in peril. There's been an implementation of group queue going back down to 8 versus 8, and there's been talk about merging group queue and solo queue in some way, which has been highly debated, and we absolutely want to talk about it. Coming up right now.
Hi.
We did skip the intros, but whatever.
No, that's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
And for hosts today, we have the complaining old Bob.
Hi.
A slightly less complaining Lars.
Heyo.
A perfectly silent Bida.
Oh.
And myself, Introsary. Let's dive right in.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, good.
So, first up to bat, stay indoors event. Mechwarrior Online weekend event. Actually, is it longer than a weekend? Yeah, it's actually a pretty long event, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So as of recording on Saturday, it ends in 9 days and 7 hours.
Yeah, so it's like,
yeah.
I've been, what was it, 2 weeks, I would guess?
Yeah, it's a 2-week event, very basic. Accumulate match score, you get stuff, and you get a lot of stuff. So if you do actually play the game and you manage to grind up all the way up to 12,000 match score, which on average is going to take you around 50 matches to do, you can get a lot of stuff, including a bunch of premium time, 1000 MC, 5 million seals, and some cockpit items. So yeah, if you have time to play the game, now's a great time to do so.
Yeah, this is really good, especially because we are under the lockdown for most of us in the area. And yeah, I think because it's just me, I really like the idea of getting colors because colors are unusually pricey in this game.
Yes.
And we can get pink or blue. So that's something different.
Make that Care Bear. Yeah, make that Care
And you
Bear.
can also get 1000 MC, which is going to buy you another color, because colors are really that expensive.
True.
It's in total 1,250 MC, and crucially, at least, this thing starts off with giving you premium time. They've finally done it.
Yeah, so you can use that ahead of time, huh?
Yeah, I really like this event. It's not requiring you to jump through hoops using any weight class or weapon setups or whatever. It's just play the game, earn match score, and you have plenty of time to do it, and you're given a lot of rewards. So yeah, thumbs up from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that we always talked about. Having always got to have the premium time always, because otherwise you sit there, you're fighting the battles and all that kind of stuff. It's like the last thing. It's like, okay, I'm done. So then they don't play for another week or something, like until the next event or next sale, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
All right, and the other thing to quickly touch on would be the player choice sale. Drop decks and mech bays are 50% off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And certain chassis, quite a lot of chassis are 50% off. I've never bought a drop deck, but the mech bays at least are always a big bottleneck, at least for people starting out. So if you play a bunch, get 1,250 MC, and you don't have enough mech bays, it's a good time to pick some up.
That's a crutch in all different free-to-play games. I always want you to go buy the mech bays. Like in World of Tanks, it's I guess like garages or something, and then the World of Warcraft, it's like docks or like whatever. Same thing with Mechwarrior Line, is the mech base, and every game has this. If all the free-to-play games has this kind of stuff, especially the fighting each other ones, or character slots or like whatever, basically. So This is good, man. It's 50% off. It's awesome. I mean, literally though, like I sit there, spend 5,000 like MC, the stuff I have left over, just to buy mech base, so I don't have to worry about it for another year or something like that, or 2 years, or however long that the lights are on. Pretty much. A good thing. A good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you can immediately fill all those mech bays with the most played meta mechs. So, yay.
Yeah. Yay.
Yay. Mech
Granted,
Mech Duos.
Granted, when this podcast comes out, the sale will be just ending, but
Yeah, though. Okay, enough
All
with
right.
Sorry, go on.
all right. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on a little bit. So what's next, guys? We want to talk about, was it the RTX? Was that our next item up for bid?
Yes,
Yeah,
that one is
Okay.
that's one from my personal wish list. So, you guys may have heard that people are advertising a lot of stupid things with artificial intelligence, and mostly it's pretty meh, as we've seen with the AI supported DLSS and Mechwarrior 5. But this one is actually pretty good. It's basically a noise suppression. It uses the RTX special features to filter out background noise from your microphone input, and you can even filter out your output noise. So I've had this on during conference calls for work this whole week, and I didn't hear any noisy kids in the background. I didn't hear the vacuum clean in the background. It was really amazing and really quiet. And if you're interested, I'm going to demonstrate it right now.
Go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to start drumming on my desk.
Wow.
Okay, I mean, it filled out most of it. And what I find really impressive is the vacuum cleaner demo.
It's pretty great, actually. I mean, it's pretty sweet.
Okay, do it
So,
without, do it without, and then do it with.
Okay, if you're listening to this podcast right now, please cover your ears or turn on the volume. I'm going to give you a 3-second warning. 3, 2, 1. This is my vacuum cleaner. You might still understand me slightly. My vacuum cleaner is still on, as you can see. Still on.
Wow.
But theoretically, you shouldn't hear it.
No,
Well,
don't hear it.
Well, your voice changed a little bit, though, based off that, but still, I mean, that clean out the background noise is nice.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it can't give you the full voice quality if the voice quality is this low, but it's so much better than having that background noise. So, I'm always thinking about games like CS:GO or League of Legends with in-game voice over IP, where people just scream into their microphone and have those crappy $5 microphones from a cheap electronics store.
Mhm.
And if they turn this on, it's gonna sound so much better. So yeah.
And how much is this RTX voice?
It is completely free.
Really?
But you need the card that can handle it, though, right?
You technically need a RTX card, which, of course, current generation is still somewhat expensive. But technically, it works with the GTX cards, so the past NVIDIA graphic cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's not officially supported on those, though. But yeah, this is a really cool step, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the competition is going to bring up in.
That's actually pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Cool deal. Okay.
All right. Quick demo on this one.
Yeah, the vacuum cleaner demo was really nice. It's like, holy cow, that's cool.
Yeah,
I felt so
really
stupid.
cuts it all.
I know. The only thing that changed was just your voice a little bit, and that's it. And and filtered out the vacuum cleaner. I'm sure, like people with big households, that multiple family members, like yelling, screaming, and kids, and all that kind of stuff, be really good for it. They go ahead and have this.
Yeah. And I've seen plenty of demos with screaming kids in the background. It's really great. I enjoy it a lot.
Okay.
Okay, let's go back to actual Mechwarrior related topics.
Sure, shoot. Mechwarrior 5 DLC update. So this is going to be probably for more you, Ian, and Bob. I know I still have not purchased Mechwarrior 5.
You're not missing much, so don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, if this here looks like it could be something, maybe it will be a way to change my mind.
Yeah, okay. So to give you a really quick rundown, the Mechwarrior 5 DLC has been announced a while ago with the focus on career mode. We now have a name. It's called Heroes of the Inner Sphere, so that's kind of the theme of it. It's not going to come out in April. It's going to be really delayed due to the obvious reasons that everything's delayed right now. But again, not the end of the world. I don't think a delay is a bad thing. and it features more than just a career mode. So that's cool. I mean, that was something we were afraid of, that it would just PGI would just sell us a career mode, but it actually features a bunch of other things.
Um,
Like,
do you have any idea how much it's going to cost? Did you hear anything about it?
absolutely nothing. Personally, I'm gonna expect $20.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
true.
I'm hoping it's less. Also, I'm hoping, but that's a very far-stretched hope, that people who bought the game within the first few weeks or even pre-ordered it are going to get this DLC for free.
That'd be nice.
Because
Yeah.
it would be nice to, I mean, to apologize sounds so negative, but to reward us for our loyalty buying the game early, even though it was somewhat lackluster and with issues.
I mean, I don't put it towards them they'll do that, but it'll be nice that they would do that, just like how Fallout 76 has the Wastelanders they gave for free, but like basically like that kind of thing, because of all the S show that they had and they gave it for free. I mean, that'd be cool if they did it for Mechwarrior 5. PGI gave it out for free for the people that, just like you said, reward them for staying and not turning it in like a lot of people did. So yeah, I don't know, but $14.99 might be kind of good. If it goes over $19.99. They're gonna get a next show on that one. It's just not gonna be good.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
20 is kind of the limit for
Yeah.
any DLC, and especially this is. I don't want to say it's a small DLC, but it's not a game-changing DLC that you can really sell for $30, which is, I mean, that's half the price of the full game. So
Yeah, and can I say that just seems weird to me that, in other BattleTech games, ECM was not a DLC, and things like ECM and BAP and Mask are considered DLC.
Yeah, because they do have a much shorter list of the things that will be included as a free update.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of possibility for modding. So you've introduced ECM, Chem Lasers, Burst Lasers, mech rifles, and whatnot, ECM, and you're saying, oh, no, you have to pay to get these things. And how hard are they going to make sure that these things are locked behind the paywall?
Yeah, like I feel like those kinds of things should just be as a free update because, I mean, it's not like, I mean, yeah, sure, it's new systems and such, but I guess I just bring up the point of in past games, those items in past like MechWarrior and BattleTech games were not things you had to purchase because it was just part of the lore and it came with the game.
Well, like MechWarrior 4 had the
The-
Mercenaries like update, and that was a separate box set. And then then a couple of the things that they had the clan and the Innisphere version little box sets with like 5 extra mechs or something like that a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Alright.
The main question is, how are they going to implement it as the baseline? So if they do a second DLC and people buy the second DLC but don't have the first one, how integrated are those going to be? That's going to be the real difficult part. Because it's always difficult if you put in features to make those features removable, to allow those features to be turned off. It's way easier to just put in features and give access to everyone. That's way easier. So there's actually going to be a fair bit of work having to be put into this to make this not available to everyone else, especially giving the modding tools.
Well, the whole thing is too. You're sitting there like, let's say Larsh buys the normal game, and then I buy this or get it for free, like whatever, basically, because I stuck around. So when I say, hey Larsh, you gonna go play a game, and then they're like, oh yeah, we got the CCM stuff. Oh, I can't use it because Larsh doesn't have it. Type
Well,
thing.
if they're
How-
smart,
Yeah, how are they gonna do that?
they'll do what some other games do, or mainly if the host has the DLC, that other people can use it. So if they're smart, then they'll do that.
That's what they should absolutely do.
That's
Yeah.
what they should do.
Yeah. That means technically, at least, if you join someone's game, as a pilot, you basically can play with the DLC. You just don't have it for your own campaigns.
Yeah, exactly.
That might
Yeah.
be good. Yeah, true. That might be good. Good for that one.
Yeah. Also, so let's quickly talk about what's in there. Bida already mentioned some new weapon types, which are really interesting. For those of you who've played modded BattleTech, you're going to be familiar with those: chemical lasers, short burst lasers, mech rifles. New mission type, new biomes. That's all things we've expected. New mechs and variants for those new equipment types. hunt down 7 new heroes and their hero mechs in story-driven hero quests featuring 7 unique handcrafted missions. That one I'm fairly excited about. I think Mechwarrior 5 could absolutely use some scripted missions to freshen up the very repetitive gameplay. Expanded in a sphere map with 18 new war zones, 11 new quest lines. Definitely good to hear, especially since this is going to be focusing on career mode, so you want more stuff. And career paths. 5 different job types to unlock career paths, rewards including new blueprints for quirking mechs. So you can quirk your mechs with blueprints you unlock, going 1 out of 5 careers.
All right,
That's
so
going to be
there's-
interesting. Looking
Yeah.
forward to this one.
I mean, I look forward to the mech rifles because then you can have a battle master with a freaking hand, like a PPC hand cannon, like instead of it just being built in the arm. So now that's going to be kind of cool. Then also the Wasp can have actually a laser rifle type thing, like beating laser mech
I
rifle.
think you might be misreading that, Bob. A mech rifle is a somewhat primitive weapon system.
Oh,
It's
okay.
basically a lower tech autocannon.
Sorry,
with
I was going by lore.
built-in
Sorry,
ammo.
I shouldn't expect that in Mechwarrior 5. I'm sorry.
Well, Bob, speaking of lore, what's your take on them putting the Corsair in here?
I mean, they
Eh,
they already
okay.
forgot lore anyway, so it's
Okay.
fine. Basically,
I mean, the Corsairs fine.
yeah.
The Roughneck. Once they
Yeah.
put in the Roughneck, then I'm gonna buy it.
Oh, so Corsair is fine, but Roughneck is
Yeah.
is one.
I
deck
mean,
too
the
far.
Corsair is more of like according to lore because that's what the kind of stuff they did in the periphery.
Yes.
So I'm not
Okay.
too upset about that because I mean they hodgepodge a bunch of different things like out there. So I'm not too upset about that. And it's not like the unnamed age type crap. So it's okay. Like I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good on that. But
Yeah. So yeah, this DLC, what's the prospect at least? You buy it. It's just sort of like Flashpoint for BattleTech, whereupon it's added a whole bunch of extra bits and pieces all over the place, but it's spread kind of thin. It's not its own select campaign. If you want to find all those 7 new heroes and their hero mechs across those handcrafted missions, you actually have to wait until they appear on the map, presumably, to start the quest chain.
You can also import the progress from your original campaign, which is a pretty cool feature.
Yeah, that was what I was going to get into. That yeah, you could import your campaigns, like how your relations to the great houses are. You can actually start in a great house of your choice. You're not forced to always start in, was it Davian space? I think
Yeah.
it was.
yeah, Davian
So
Space.
if you want to role play as let's just say Karita and you're a hardcore loyalist Karita, you don't have to slowly move your way. Well, I mean, it's not that far, but you have to move up there and then get them to trust you all of a sudden. And there's
I don't know, man. 3015 Kurita Mercenary. That's
They were out there, they were out there, not but like they had the crap jobs, like go protect that water moon or something like that,
really dangerous line of work.
Yeah, exactly. But my main concern though is it's BattleTech Lite. It's BattleTech Lite from Harebrained Schemes. It's just BattleTech Lite with it's a BattleTech Lite from Harebrained Schemes with better graphics, and that's they're trying for that.
Yeah.
Basically,
I'm a little disappointed. They're also doing the same thing with quirks. Just with BattleTech, of course, all the mechs had just the base vanilla. They're all the 55 tonners are exactly the damn same, just hard points and sometimes melee damage.
Yeah.
And then when they introduced later mechs to make them really stand out, they gave them unique equipment. Well, that's basically sort of what you have to do here. You just unlock a career path, and then I'm not sure how they'll implement it. If it's like, oh, give survival to the Hunchback Hunch, it's like, well, thanks, but when I finish the campaign, I'm in assault mechs now.
Yeah, I know.
Or it can be implemented in a way of just give all mechs 10% extra durability or whatever.
I don't know. Could be like that. But I think they come up with like their own ideas, just a little bit of their own ideas, but then copy like Harebrained Schemes. And it's kind of sad though that it's like that, but that's what it sounds like.
It's the most natural course to expand this type of game. So there's going to be a lot of comparisons made. Some things though, like expanding the map that you are on, in BattleTech it was easier to do, so to speak, but that was a free update that everybody got.
Yeah.
But this is behind a paywall. The more missions, that's just like in BattleTech behind a paywall, though it wasn't in the game that was so mod friendly. All the extra mech variants, that's kind of a thing. PGI was communicating with the fan base, or saying, those of you who want to port mechs, just wait, don't worry, we're going to do it later. And then they put it behind a paywall.
Yeah.
So that's a little misleading for those people who wanted to add in a much larger roster of mechs. Keep on cracking on with that, because PGI do not want people to get these unless they pay. The way I imagine them implementing equipment and whatnot to make sure players don't get access to these without paying, it's just going to be the simplest format of just we're introducing new variants with ECM, and at least for unless you're modding, you can't get this otherwise. And I think they're not necessarily going to try and put DRM on all of this stuff. So I imagine modders are able to throw in their own new variants and ECM variants and
probably.
add that equipment to the store.
Realistically, though, no modder is going to port the DLC features to a free mod. Realistically, all modders are just going to assume that you have the DLC and mod from that, which is totally what happened in every other game I follow that has an active modding community, which is somewhat of a shame that the equipment is hidden behind the paywall.
Yeah, but it's how they lock it. If a modder comes out with their own, Slowpoke 2C, adds it to the game, and it has ECM, the supercharger, and mask, will it work? And I'm guessing it probably will. As far as a Slowpoke Mark 2C would work.
I mean, just as a joke though, the beachhead thing, basically, they're gonna have like a Omaha Beach, where like the mechs are in little landing crafts and they're coming on the beach.
I was wondering what that was going to be.
Artillery strikes and like emplacements. I wonder how that's going to work. That should be interesting though to check out. Like most likely it's going to be like protect the airfield, and they have like gun emplacements and stuff like that. Or
would
protect the city.
Really cool if you could control the artillery strikes, but probably not.
I don't know.
That would be
Maybe
something. Yeah.
I mean,
they're gonna be random, fairly certain.
Gonna be random, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, maybe we can hope that that they might do a short live stream at some point in the near future. Hopefully, that would kind of showcase a few of these.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. No, hold on. You're asking too much now.
I mean,
wait
a second. Nice.
Wait a second here.
See him in action,
Now, there's one thing as well, just to talk about with new weapons and equipment, is that this is kind of underwhelming, at least in Mechwarrior 5, because as you know, mechs get opened up all the time and destroyed, particularly with your dumb lance mates. So if you have an ECM, how many are going to be in the nearby available stores? How are you going to be able to replace that?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, because time to kill on your guys compared to the other guys is, they just die like left and right. Pretty much, I just hope they kill the mass wave of tanks and helicopters while I start knocking out like all the mechs themselves. And I just hope they just kill a bunch of that stuff so I don't have to worry about it, type thing. And then I do the actual mission. So yeah, you're right. The TDK, I'm just wondering how that's going to work, because you literally have to have every mission you have to replace ECM or BAP or like your mech rifles or like anything else. So yeah, true.
Yeah. Actually,
you need a large stockpile.
I'm gonna say mech rifles are the ones I would put with AI pilots because they're cheap, really cheap.
Yes.
But
and stat-wise, they aren't actually too bad. The only thing is sometimes people mention, I think the biggest issues is just ammo per ton, and some places saying, it does no damage to mech armor.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see more when it does come out, but we did have a good idea on the podcast. Why don't you go ahead and do a short stream of what it is, PGI? Be so much good, and based just like what Battletech does from Harebrained Schemes.
We're just making like a trailer announcement.
Yeah.
Just a short summary. I mean, that's something simple that other companies do, like a nice little trailer to say this is the DLC.
Yeah.
I mean, you might sell some more. Yeah. Yeah, go
on. I mean, and it's money.
Random, just aside, what is it? Chem Lasers. I've heard about those. They are like, chemical. They use chemicals as sort of your battery rather than the fusion power plant.
Okay.
They're like usually mounted on vehicles. So why are mechs sort of using them? Because I think you have to sort of bring ammo for them.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's basically energy with ammo. Because they are again fairly cheap, and at least the way they are implemented in most of the BattleTech mods is you can salvage them from tanks and put them on your Urbies, those kind of mechs. Like your primitive peripheral mechs, you're gonna find chemical weapons on.
Okay.
Now, short burst lasers. What's that all about?
That's something new, as far as I'm aware.
I was kind of hoping for
Yeah.
the mech rifle, like the pistol from the Battle Master, but that was just me. That's what I was kind of hoping for. That'd be kind of cool, actually. But yeah, I never heard of short burst lasers myself.
Yeah, I is it like a pulse laser that has a shorter duration or just a regular laser with short duration? Well, we'll find out later.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see that they're going a different direction.
All right,
Maybe they've listened to Ryder's advice some episodes ago.
Yeah.
what does everybody get for free in this patch?
Quality of life. Let me scroll down real quick.
More or less.
The one thing I've been
you
bitching about the whole time.
You get a notification when borders change. You get quality of life fixes like full 360-degree line of sight radar. Oh, finally.
Yeah, no.
And area-based heat effects.
So
lava
biomes,
finally is going to heat you up.
Yeah.
With more to come.
Yeah, more to come.
Yeah, basically.
Potential release in June.
Okay, that'll be for another episode. I'll go talk about the news, but go on. I'll talk about the news.
Okay.
Let's talk about it in July.
I do like the. It is good they're giving that to everyone because suddenly the border's changing and you being on the wrong side is kind of annoying. Or just sort of saying, "Oh, hey, suddenly a Raven. What? Oh, I guess they now exist." It's way more interesting just having like the prospect of new technology being out there. It is quite captivating. At least I would.
Well, yeah, and that would also put in the immersion effect too. Basically, they have like news events, like NASI or like who the guy's called. God, man, it's on the tip of my tongue. From Davion, the like
Evelyn Institute of Science.
Yeah, those guys developed some mech thing or something like that, some new type of like muscle system or ECM, and it comes out, and so it'd be a news report. So you want to travel there to go get it, or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. More immersion effect inside the game, so you actually feel like a merc unit instead of just like I'm going against hordes of airplanes and hordes of tanks and everything.
Don't get your hopes up too
high.
high.
I know. I gotta stop that. Damn it! I gotta stop getting my hopes up. That's my problem.
A thought that jumps to my mind as a possible downside. This is a bit of an extreme case, but you travel from one side of the extended Innisphere map to the other, and it takes you like a couple of years, and then there's like 20 pieces of news that you have to click next on when you finally arrive.
Yeah, true. That is worst case. Like, yeah, true. Like, I don't know. Like,
it won't always be like that, but depending how often they do news and how they implement, the pop-up or the however you read it, like, can you go back and look at a timeline? That would be kind of cool. Just have a archive of all the news. But yeah, we'll see how it's implemented. It's just it's neat knowing when tech is out.
I've played Hearts of Iron 4. We can deal with this.
Yeah, true. Oh, you have that. I'll have to play you like sometime.
I'm terrible in Hearts of Iron.
I only played it twice, so it's fine. I only played it twice. That's good. But yeah, I love that. Just put more immersion into the game as far as news, and I wouldn't care. I hope it's the news like in Mech Commander. Be really cool if they did that with live action. It'd be beautiful if they did that. But like I said, I get my hopes up too much, and I gotta stop that about games now. I gotta stop that. But yeah, it'd be cool. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so that's biomes and everything, all that kind of stuff. New stuff coming out for Mechwarrior 5 download, and hopefully it's gonna be $14.99 or free for the people that had the pre-orders. That'd be really good if they did that. PGI.
Yeah. I think $14.99 would be a very fair price. $20 is on the high side, but
yeah,
I'd probably still get it. Anything above 20, and nope.
Definitely true.
And that's already with the twisted sense of how much my money is worth I've gotten from BGI, paying $30 for a Mech pack.
Yeah, I know.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
Times.
so what's after this? What's next?
Well, we're
Oh
on to
boy.
the big MWO topics, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
8v8
this is some
group
big
queue. We
stuff.
just want to touch on that again, and then we're going to talk about posting in the forums. They're mentioning that they want to merge solo and group queue.
Yep.
So a
Okay.
lot going on here, guys. Sadly, I did not get to drop last night because of some technical issues I had on my end for the Friday night. But Ian and Bob, you're able to get a chance to do the 8v8. So how'd that go?
Yeah, pretty well. So they reduced the group queue from 12v12 down to 8 versus 8. So you have to gather 8 people to basically instantly find a match. Apparently, you can also launch with 4 and 6 people and still have decent chances of finding a match. The main issue is the user interface is not supporting 8 versus 8 right now, so you can technically invite more than 8 people and then wonder why you're not finding a game, because that totally happened to me once.
Okay.
But yeah, it worked surprisingly well. We managed to gather 8 people, and our waiting times were in the seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Single
really
digit
quick.
seconds most of the time,
Yeah.
really quick. And so for the actual play, I mean, obviously, our group is kind of very casual, and we hate doing coordinated stuff. So
I
we've
wouldn't go
never
that far.
expected to win anything.
Yeah.
But we just went in there. We had our theme. We went with streaks for a while, with micropulses for a while, and we were like, we're gonna kill 2 people, and that's gonna be our goal. And we did it, and we
Yeah.
had fun, and we had an
Yeah.
absolute blast. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it worked
actually,
well.
I enjoyed it. It was really cool. One of the things was just having fun, man, and that's all we did. The 8 versus 8, it seemed a little bit more tactical if you're really like into that type of thing, as far as like between your firing lines and protecting things, because you don't have the extra 4 like quote cannon fodder to go and deal with, and so the 8 versus 8 was just it was just fun. And at first, a long time ago, I was totally against 8 versus 8. Totally against it because it would. Take out the lore aspect of a company. But now, since a player base is dwindling, it's like, okay, 8 versus 8's fine, man. Just go with it, because that's what you got to do. You have to do this kind of stuff and change the game itself. A lot of people don't like change. Change is bad. But I don't mind change. Change is actually one of the things that I enjoy in games themselves, because it's something to adapt to. A type thing to go ahead and like overcome. So that's no problem. But the 8 versus 8, like we played on Friday night, awesome. I definitely loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then,
gonna
go ahead.
I'm gonna say for single player, what's the quick play queue? I'm still very much preferring 12 versus 12.
Oh yeah,
That's something we're gonna talk about in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
For group queue though, 8 versus 8 was perfectly fine. I mean, sure, the fights were definitely shorter, and a single mistake has much more gravity. And if you have one person who gets caught out of place, obviously you have a much greater chance of losing than when you have 12 people. But still, it's fine.
And also, I was kind of curious too, because because of the map size, of course, is not going to change. So, was there any different coordination in terms of map? Because of not having those 4 people, and bring it down to 8, or was it kind of like the same strategy for any map, even though with like only 8 people?
The main thing we noticed, people were going counter NASCAR rather than NASCAR all the time. So
Yeah.
that was fun.
With smaller group sizes, yeah. I've only got really experience with the PTRs, which only had 8v8. The thing with 12v12, if you have 12 mechs all group up together and push one point, and all of them focus one mech, they will be able to delete it very quickly. So there's a critical mass of firepower. With 8v8 or 4v4 or much less, there's not that critical mass, and so therefore you're going to have less of the rotating and all that kind of stuff going on. There's much more of battle lines getting crossed over one another, and it has its strengths. And typically, I would say because there's not a critical mass, you're much better off if you brawl than if you try and snipe. Whereas in 12v12s, there's a NASCAR running around just killing anyone who gets caught in it, and so you have more opportunity, more time to just try and snipe away at that giant ball of killy mechs. Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
without
you're right
being
about that. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Basis is
Yeah.
more tactical, like I think, because just like you guys were talking about, is if you lose one mech that gets out of place, you're more likely to lose than if you have the extra 4 as like cannon fodder type stuff. So yeah, it's a better mode, at least I think, especially for the time of what it is now. So it's a good thing, and I'm glad they actually switched to this than like anything else. I was totally against it before, but now I'm kind of like, oh yeah, cool. This is not bad. It's gonna help actually. It's gonna help.
Yeah. In the meantime, that is what we are stuck with. 8v8 group queue. It will help reduce the queuing times. I think there's some issues, like if you could still technically queue as a 7-man, and you'll never find a game.
Yep.
Just don't queue as a 7-man.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, true.
I've learned the hard way.
Yeah, the game's really quick to get into, so that wasn't bad at all. But of course, it was Friday night though, like everyone's group
Friday
queuing.
night.
So yeah,
Yes.
I have to try it on like Tuesday night or something like that, and on an off time to see how it is. Or any Aussies out there, basically go and do the same thing, and go let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, as long as this is still live, we might want to test a few of the off days because, like, I know our group is usually doing it on Fridays, but if we can get like a coordinated like Tuesday or like Thursday even, it
Mhm.
might be kind of nice just to go ahead and test it out and just to really see like how populated the queue is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sounds fine. I don't mind that. Be
Cool.
good, be good. So the other remaining, are we done with the 8 versus 8?
I'd
Yeah,
say
I think
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
faster queues, it makes sense to do this change. It's something that they can easily do, which is why they've done it. And it's at least it gives us something different in the way that if you wanted 12 versus 12, you already had faction play, technically speaking,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
group
true,
queues.
true.
Mhm.
So 8v8 actually is quite a bit of a different experience. It's still a fair number of mechs out there, but not so many, not so it's not so swarmy as 12v12.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay, the other topic, which is merging the group queue and the solo
Yeah.
queue,
The big
Yes.
one.
or the quick queue.
So
Yeah.
starting it all up was an announcement by Paul, where they, I believe for the first time in a very long time, shared some actual numbers about average queue time. And apparently 8 versus 8 has had a huge impact on reducing queue time. As we said, in our case, it was literal seconds. I'm guessing the average of 3.2 minutes is mostly coming down to smaller groups that first have to find other small groups to group up with. But they're saying it's not quite enough, so they have an idea. Anyone who really wants to give the rundown on that?
All right, so yeah, it's good that we finally got some numbers. As people mentioned, like 10 minutes average queue time means, some people are lucky and they get just 5 minutes, and some people are unlucky, it's 15, 20 minutes or
Yeah.
so. And that's obviously, in the end, averages out to about 10. And when they changed it, obviously they're saying on the Friday it's down to just 3.2 minutes. That's still a fair amount of time just sitting in the queue. Like in the past, it used to be like a minute or two on average for you to get into a match. And so yeah, the player base, even with and its best times, is still quite long. And 6.5 minutes is the new average for that week. Not very good either, because you're still on average, like if you're lucky you're waiting 3 minutes, and if you're unlucky you're waiting 12 minutes maybe to make it all average out.
Yeah, again, I think though that putting in the group queue with maximum 4 for the group queue into solo queue is not that bad. I mean, still you're gonna get the tryhards that, like just
But I'm gonna stop you real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because our audience doesn't yet know what.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we gotta
Okay,
go into
got a
all that
spoilers.
still.
Okay,
Yeah.
spoilers.
Yeah,
Shh.
by the way,
Okay,
still talking about this first paragraph.
Okay, go
No,
ahead.
that's right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
All I said was that 6.5 minutes average is still not very good, obviously,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
why they're looking to change it. Like all of this discussion is precedented on that 6.5 minutes is still not very good. And I must say I agree for the most part, because if I sit down and say I want to play a match, just a single match, waiting 6.5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes or so, that's that's a lot of time watching just a black screen, just doop 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 doop. I think for me, like you want to have the matchmaking time at most to be up to about 3 minutes, and we're 2 to 3 times that probably.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know myself, like, I play like casually now, but like, I want to come home after a long day of work, pop up the screen, and go jump in a match. I don't have to sit there and go, okay, just waiting. I want to just jump in the screen and go play. I know type
I've
thing.
certainly gotten used to having my phone with me when I'm playing Mechwarrior Online and just being on my phone while I wait for a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. And sometimes I'm there playing games on my phone while waiting for a game in MechWarrior Online.
Okay.
Okay.
So, moving on, Paul and Ross had a meeting and they came to an understanding. Basically, to quickly summarize this fairly long paragraph, they came to the decision that MechWarrior Online doesn't have the player base to support two different queues, and realistically, they don't need two different queues anymore, because the original reason to separate them out was the very hardcore player base playing group queues, being on a much higher average skill than the solo player. And nowadays we have competitive mode, which is something a lot of people have brought up on different platforms. So the people who want to play competitive go into competitive mode and play competitive mode, and everyone else goes into quick play. So that's kind of their reasoning, saying, okay, let's recombine solo and group queue. But obviously there's a caveat. You can't just chuck 8-man or even 12-man groups into the quick play queue, because that's not going to be fun. So they're talking about reducing the group size to a max of 4 people. When I first read that, I was kind of disappointed, because our group is bigger than 4 and we still wouldn't be able to play out once. But thinking about it, I think 4 people is a good size, where the games should still be fairly balanced. Like a 4-man doesn't have that kind of impact on a game compared to an 8-man or 12-man group. So yeah, they want to recombine the queues, bring down the max group size to 4 for quick play, and they're gonna do some things regarding group team balancing. That's basically the suggestion that Paul put on the forums, and that's the starting point for a lot of talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's been about, I want to say we're on 11 pages of discussion in this forum.
There's a lot that obviously the matchmaking touches on, but first things first, at least I've been talking about this a long time. The number of buckets that MWO has, the solo queue, the group queue, the faction warfare, whether that's scouting or otherwise, though no scouting anymore, I guess. And of course, Solaris, 7 divisions, 1v1s and 2v2s. And yeah, just there's not a player base for that many separate different queues. So yeah, if people are having struggling, if one of those queues, like group queue, is struggling and it's just not really worth playing, it does make complete sense. At least it makes some sense to reduce it down to, add it to the solo queue. And if people want to play together, a group of 4 could do it in the solo/group queue, and a group of 12, they can still do faction warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was against it like before, but like I said, man, this is the way to go. Basically with the especially with the 4-man group, you're probably looking at maybe 200 tons max that you could go and use. And like I'm thinking, so just like how you have like a 12-man with if everyone takes medium mechs, basically you're already set up like that. So with this, it was probably gonna bring it down to 200 tons for like either 2 to 4 people. So you could have 2 assaults with your 2 friends, or have 3, I guess 3 heavies, or or a bunch of mediums or something like that, like 4 mediums. So it does kind of work out, I think, right? No?
Actually, to back up and punt real quick, did they actually mention what the tonnages would be?
I'm just
They
guessing on
haven't
this.
mentioned
Yeah,
that,
I'm just
and that
guessing
is
based
my
off.
biggest
Yeah.
gripe, that they haven't
Yeah.
mentioned how they are. All they've said is that they're balancing to group team balancing. So if one team has a group, like a 4-man, then it'll try and make sure that the next group it adds will be on the other side. So you won't have 2 4-mans and 4 randos versus 12 randos.
Yeah.
There'll always be they'll try and balance out the groups.
Now, as far as
Okay.
tonnage, I was just guessing on the tonnage. So like I'm just kind of throwing some numbers out there.
I think it's a fair guess, though. Full mediums of 4-man, and
Yeah.
up to assaults for 2-mans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But of course, you're gonna see a bunch of the 2-man groups popping out because all they want to do is play assaults, type thing. So that might be a controversial thing as far as balance wise. But Because yeah, I don't know, but
Well,
yeah,
there's some very interesting questions come up with whether, because they haven't mentioned all the details involved in the matchmaker. Because
Yeah.
whilst MWO doesn't necessarily have the best ELO system or whatever to measure by skill, it does, at least in solo queue, try to make sure that each side has about the same tonnage, where all the assaults go in one lance, all the mediums go in another lance, all the heavies go in another lance, etc., etc. With a group, though, groups will typically want to all spawn together, and there's a minimum and maximum tonnage. So if a two-man group, do you always assume they have, do you always put them in the assault lance? But what if they're taking two locusts or two, light mechs at the minimum tonnage, and suddenly one team is way lighter than the other? So yeah, they have not mentioned anything about balancing groups for tonnage, and how they will place the groups. Like particularly if you have two groups of let's just say for the sake of argument, a lot of three-man groups start searching, and you have a match with two three-mans on one side and two three-mans on the other side. How do you put those groups together?
yeah,
I imagine
yeah.
it's a three-man and one lance, a three-man and another lance, and you put a random solo in with those lances.
Hold on, I got a question though. Like they're gonna switch from the 12v12 to 8v8.
No.
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 Okay, they're gonna still keep the 12v12, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Effectively, all they're doing is they're scrapping
Yeah.
group queue and allowing groups to join solo queue.
And the normal comp play if you want to go play 8v8, right?
Yeah.
Complay
Yeah.
for 8 versus 8 and faction play for
Okay.
12 versus 12.
Okay,
Correct.
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just got confused for a second. It's easy for me, so it's okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's
I
cool.
mean, since we're on a topic, maybe talk real quick. Let's talk about the alternatives they've offered.
Mhm.
So they've talked about leaving group queue as is, group queue on 8 versus 8, and quick play the way it is. And basically, they're saying the benefit wouldn't be too big because queue times for group queue are still pretty high. That's something Biden talked about earlier. Another alternative would be to go down all the way back to 8 versus 8, which would obviously be immensely resource intensive because they would have to adjust the user interface to go back to 8 versus 8. They would have to adjust the rewards to make sure that you still get a similar amount of money and progression per game, and so on and so forth. So basically, all of those really creative or interesting ideas people are putting out right now, both on the forums, the Facebook, Reddit, and so on, most of those are not going to work because of the resource requirement to implement them. So just to get this out of the way, because obviously we're taking part of the discussion right now and we're most likely encouraging more discussion, please keep in mind it has to be somewhat realistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. True.
Now, whilst there's obviously there's a whole slew of complicated suggestions you can make, the one they are going with is in fact one I was actually skeptical about in the past. I remember last brought it up, and I said, the thing is with merging the queues is you will need to do a lot of work with a matchmaker to make sure that you try and make games fair, and you want to make sure that groups aren't too large or too overtonned or something like that. And this post indicates that Paul and Russ have actually sat down, and and Russ is prepared to commit some resources, some time towards MWO to fix some of its issues. So yeah, I don't think it's there's obviously they're going to do changes within reason, but this is actually a good sign that they are looking to keep MWO running, rather than just leaving it on life support and then leaving the hospital to forget it forevermore.
Yeah, exactly. And whenever you see like a post like this and they are actively discussing what could be fixed, kind of like what you said, it does give some hope that, they do want to go back and fix some things, because I think for the longest time that we really weren't getting any updates,
No.
and people were beginning to really think that they've moved on from MechWarrior Online to all in on Mechwarrior 5. So pretty much, it's one of those things where if people want to discuss to keep this game alive, they really have not posted this forum topic on the game. So I was talking with a person in the forums last night, and the issue is that not a lot of people in game actually know this forum exists or that this discussion is even happening. So I kind of wish that they would put this on the like main announcement splash screen whenever you open the game,
Yeah.
just to let people know. And it basically, if you're one of our viewers who's watching this and this is the first time you're even hearing about this, please go to the forum, read about it, check it out. Kind of like what Ian said, if you have a suggestion, keep it within the bounds of realism. Don't just go ahead and spout random ideas because it might not work because they only have a certain amount of resources. So yeah, so definitely, if
Yeah.
this is the if this is the first time you're hearing about it, hop in, look it over. If by the random chance Russ or Paul are looking at this, or anyone else from PGI, put it in the game on the announcement page so people actually are aware of it, because as of this date, only like I want to say 1/4 of the player base might know about this.
Yeah, yeah,
Probably less. And yeah, if you're going to take part of the discussion in the forums, I heavily recommend reading the original post, formulating your own opinion, commenting your own opinion, and then diving into the comments. Because those comments are deep rabbit hole. I think that's not an overstatement. And you might get very much distracted from the original topic of the post.
Exactly.
As is
It's
standard with
happening.
most
Yeah.
MWO forum posts.
yeah, true.
Yeah, which is I'll grant this might be an unpopular idea.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but it's one of those things that if they were to put this on the splash screen and say go here for some input, this is kind of like a double-edged blade where getting player input, it's fantastic because it allows in-depth player discussion of how to fix an issue, but it also brings up a whole raft of other things, and people kind of get caught up on some things that really aren't the main discussion. And there have been times, maybe I'm not too good at it, but I've been trying to keep the discussion back a little bit towards the topic number one. And this is why I was kind of trying to say I wish they would just actually possibly just lock down the thread and say, this is the possible fix, put up a poll and say, would you want to see this happen or keep it as is? And just you can go in, take 2 minutes to say yes or no, and let the devs do their job.
Ideally, you would do it even more straightforward. Put it in the game.
Yes.
Make a splash screen that is basically this article, but readable, and then have an in-game poll. Of course, again, it requires resources, but that's the ideal solution, because if you put it in the forums, realistically, that vote in the forum is not going to be a fair representation of what the community actually thinks, because so many people can't be bothered to open the forum for very good reason.
And plus, you get a small vocal like minority that you'll have some problems with Mechwarrior Lion. They'll want to sabotage it like crazy.
And and that's probably something we might have to touch on, because holy crap, all those posts have been dominated by I would say one handful of people that have been really, really vocal and not necessarily constructive in their feedback.
Yeah, and that's why I keep trying to bring it back, but
yeah. So one way I would phrase it is just sort of a question of, you're going to change the system. Some will benefit, some others won't. So, in the currently at least, group queue, you only really sort of want to play it on the weekends, and even then the queue time is quite long at times. So if you and just a couple of friends want to play together, it's kind of awkward to get a match together in MWO. You could sync drop, but that's not really the same all the time. You can do faction warfare, but that's a very time-intensive game mode. You're committed for half an hour or whatever for each match.
Bare minimum.
Bare minimum, like an hour, half an hour, an hour, very much so. And so it's just you and a couple of friends want to do some quick matches together, and you can't right now. So group queue going the way of the dodo is not very much going to upset people. And if you do have a couple of friends, this will benefit you. But the thing is, we haven't seen this experience yet. We haven't, for those, if you and your couple of friends want to play together, there's not many people who are going to say, huzzah, I'm really looking forward to this experience I haven't had yet.
Exactly. And that's one of the main points I keep bringing up is that, if they want to go ahead and test it, like let them test it for a month. Put it live. Do not put it
Yeah.
on the test server, because no one takes time to try the test server. Make a backup of the current system, because you're going to want to test it, just and test for bugs while it's live. Then go back and revert to the old system and look over the data and the opinions of some of the player base.
Yeah.
Is that mainly you cannot, and that's actually, and that's the flip side of the whole forum, is that people will make you know they will make their final judgment before trying it out. And that's
Yes.
Well,
why
I think BGI
yeah,
has a fair number of people who will criticize them, no matter what they
yeah,
do. But
exactly.
Yes.
on the flip side, I'm just saying, um, Group Q is dead, so nobody's really upset too much about
Exactly.
it disappearing, and they can't really advocate for something that hasn't happened yet. On the flip side, though, if you are predominantly just a solo player, the prospect is that solo queue will become more group droppy, which means on average, I would say that the coordination on the other side will be higher, and on average, there's more. There's the potential of very good players being working together in coordination. That will increase. And I thought, at least I've seen in the forum posts, people mentioning back in the day before there was solo queue and group queue, that they don't want to return to those times.
Okay, let's look like this though. Basically they still got comp play, right? Which is 8 versus 8. Okay, and that's comp play is for the people that want to, like, I want my KDR. My KDR is the most important thing in the world, even I get nothing for it. So they're hanging out like in that section. That's fine. And now they got to take out something because Group Q is pretty much dead except for on Friday nights. So they put it into quick play, which is fine. Basically that's going to increase a player base. The other people that are complaining about their KDRs and everything, they could still play comp play. They could still do that thing and hang out there and go ahead and play and all that kind of stuff. And just, if you want to get together with your friends like we do, we just say, hey, we're just going to have some fun, enjoy ourselves, jump in our group of 4 people, and then jump in quick play, and that's fine. I don't see the problem with this. I really don't.
Well, the issue is those people who care about their win-loss ratio are not going to play comp play. They're going to stay in quick play, and they're going to stay even more in quick play with this system because it is technically easier for them to buff up their kill-death ratio. And
I don't get it, man. They're not getting paid. They're not.
Yeah.
Basically.
I know, but it's frustrating. But that's just the mindset those people have in, and that's the mindset they're actively sharing on every platform.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading right now, actually. Yeah.
And
yeah. Sorry.
It's just frustrating. Basically, what needs to happen is competitive play needs to be kind of more marketed toward those people, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. That's a really good idea.
There needs to be an encouragement to actually play competitive play if you want to play on a high skill level.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of something missing.
And I think that's the whole point of why comp play exists. That was the whole premise of it, was that if you wanted to have very well coordinated group play, you would go to comp play. And it exists, but I mean, yeah, I'm looking at Bob's reaction. That's like, internally, that's how I feel. I mean, it's just, mainly if you want comp play, you go to comp play, man. Like, I guess now also, Ian, you brought up a good point. It's not very well marketed. So actually, I'm not too well aware of what you get in comp play. So does it, so what do you get in comp play if you go to the comp play queue?
Not much else except if you play in the events that are hosted.
So does your stats from anything in there correlate to your profile? Do you keep anything in comp play?
I mean, you can earn titles if you take part in the championship series. I honestly don't know. That's how little I know about competitive play.
I mean, I'm reading some of the forum posts, and basically, I don't get it. Basically, like they are complaining that if they go to group queue, then their KDR is going to go down. But when they play group play, then they're basically they don't lose a match. So it's like, okay, fine, play comp play. Play comp play. Basically, it's 8 versus 8. It's done. Boom. You can fight other people that have KDR, finishes. That's fine. anyone who would just want to do solo queue or a quick play in that with a little bit of groups, because like I want to go play with Larsh and like Ian and Biter, so we get a 4-man group, we go jump in there, do what we got to do. That's fine, but now I don't get it. I just play comp play.
Yeah.
Do it.
I feel like Bob's mental state is going to deteriorate.
My head's gonna explode.
It's
like,
I don't think Bob has gone into the forums yet. I think this is actually his
nope,
first time.
first time. Where you can see live. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is in real time Bob's reaction, but I've grown a little numb to it.
Yeah.
Because
I've got one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If that's fine, Lash. I've got one more point regarding the high skill level tryhards. A lot of those posts are specifically referring to once this change happens, if it happens, there are going to be immense stomps. And there are multiple people in here saying, okay, I think I'm one of the best player Mechwarrior online, and I will actively go out and ruin the experience for every solo drop. Which, by the way, is an absolutely awful mindset, and I cannot understand why anyone would say this. But that's one of the reasons why I second Lash's suggestion from earlier. The test needs to be prolonged. 2 days are absolutely not going to cut it. 2 weeks, probably not going to cut it. I think it has to be a full month. So those people who are trying to ruin the experience for everyone else get tired of doing so. Because we're not going to get realistic numbers while those people are still out there.
No, we're not. And this is one of those things too, is that, basically when this kind of thing happens in the forum, you need to take yourself out of your own personal bubble, of influence. And that goes for us, it goes for them, it goes for anyone who goes in this forum, is that you need to take your mindset and put all of your ego and everything. Because I want to, I'll admit it, but I need to take that out and put it to the side and say, listen, this is a game we have. Group queue is dying out, but also too is that if I were to put myself in the shoes of the people who are the more elite players who have more skill, it's one of those things that, maybe I'm just being optimistic, maybe I'm just being weird, but if I saw myself as one of the top tier players in this game, wouldn't I want to be that champion to say, hey, I'm really good. You're maybe not as good, or you're a lesser skill. I get that, but follow me and we're going to go kick some serious ass, and we're going to have a great time together. Instead, what I see is the discussion of, we're going to merge the groups. I'm super good. You're not. You're going to fucking die, and you're going to have a horrible fucking time. And that's what really gets to me, to the most point, is that that this game is supposed to be a fun game. You take the wins, you take the losses, and it's one of those things that when trying to remove myself from my own personal mindset, that is the one thing I can't fathom, is that if you are that good of a player and you see yourself as that good of a player, why not lift those people up? Why not get them into your group and say, we're going to go ahead and kick that team's ass, because they have some really good players too on their side, and they're going to kick our ass too. You know what? We're going to have a great time kicking our own asses. So let's fucking get in there.
You see, okay, I do agree with what you're saying. Believe me, I'm all for that. But you're talking about people that have CS:GO egos, and Call of Duty egos, and they got to be the best, and f everybody else. I'm gonna get my KDR scores because for some reason Mr. Universe on some make-believe pixel game, that's who they are. These are the type of people that you're dealing with. Now, for people like, say, BrioS, Nutty Rat, Cyclone, I'll follow them to hell and back, man. No problem. They are leaders. They are freaking leaders, man. Follow you. You're a leader, Larsh. Basically, you are a leader. I'll follow you to hell and back. But these other people that cry over comms and do that kind of stuff, I don't want to have anything to do with these guys. In fact, I'll throw my own grenade in their own direction when they take a dump, like in the Owl House, just like in Vietnam, for the captain that's really crappy. Like, these people, I don't have anything to do with, basically, if they're like that. But for people that are...
Can I just...
Sorry.
I wouldn't go that far, but go ahead, guys.
but you get my mindset though, as far as like, these other
I get
people,
it.
I wouldn't even, I don't even consider, it's like whatever, man, I don't really care about you, that type thing. But the other people like Cyclone, Nutty, you guys, like people who actually lead people and bring people up, and don't cry over comms because saying you guys all suck because I'm the best in the world. I'll follow those guys, no problem. But
I think the hard thing is that like I understand everything you're saying. It's one of those things that like that this is a game, everyone's invited.
Yeah.
And personally, we can't do attacks of screw them, screw you.
Yeah.
We really got we because I mean, sure, our podcast, we're a small group. Our audiences might be small too, but we really can't be saying those kinds of things because it's just gonna lead to more infighting. So like I do understand what you're saying, but this is one of those things where we really can't say that.
Okay. Edit. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm just going to add in here. There are certain things going on Reddit and so on that really shouldn't be happening. I just pull up an example where one of the guys who was advocating against the merge took all the names who agreed with the merge and put them up on searched them up on Charles' list. And like, this is the kind of mindset that I was talking about earlier. This is not helpful. This is not helping the discussion in any way. And like, why do this? Why take it to a personal level?
Yeah, I think we're talking a lot about like the top tier players, etc., people who talk about the win-loss ratios and whatnot. And for me, this all to return somewhat to the metal, to the topic at hand. It's merging group queue with solo queue. What's this? Why is this prompting all this conversation? The answer is, in my mind, is that it's a big question about demographics, as in my head, I imagine you jump into a match, and if it's a total of 10 group players and 2 solos, compared to jumping into a match and it's 10 solo players and 2 groupies. And those are totally different scenarios. If in the case of 10 players all being in one group and they're all really good, then the 2 puggies aren't going to be able to do very much, etc., etc. And the same sort of could be said: 2 people playing in a group, if they're really, really good, they can absolutely dominate the other side, which in this case might be 12 random puggies. So the big question is, when we merge these 2 groups together, two queues together, how will things actually pan out? Who is going to turn up in this mixed group and solo queue? Will it be the best of the best in groups of 4 absolutely dominating? Will it be dominated by groups predominantly with solos sort of struggling to find their way? Will it be an even mix of solos and groups, and the groups on average are your average players? Like back in the day when we played group queue all the time, it was not against 12-man tryhard groups. It was against predominantly average people most of the time. We got stomped when we played against the tryhards, but on average, we still had plenty of time where we were playing against average players. And I think that's sometimes the risk that people are. We have no idea how the demographics will change once we implement this. And a lot of people are very pessimistic. I mean, they have plenty of reason to do with PGI and whatnot. And there's a question of who is actually still around and who will actually pick up this new game mode and play in groups at this point. Have all the average group players disappeared? They sort of have done so from the group. So it seems to imply there's only random puggies and the tryhards. They're the only sort of ones we see right now, which give us the implication that when we merge group queue and solo queue, we're going to just have groups of tryhards charging into a bunch of random puggies. And I think that is the mental image that repulses a lot of people. On the statistics side, at least to advocate for the statistical side, the benefit, even if you were just a solo queuer, you only enjoyed solo queue, it was great to sort of say, these are my stats, this is my win-loss, this is my KD, in an environment when I'm always playing with strangers against strangers. It's kind of a fair playing field. When you're playing in group queue, you can stack the deck. You can have a very mediocre player get a brilliant win-loss and a brilliant KD, because KD is just, kills in this game are just the finishing blow. If all your allies, if you play with 3 really good players and they do all the damage and you're just always finishing the kills and winning all the matches, oh, look at my KD, look at my win-loss. It waters down the value of those statistics in group queue. So if you're an only solo player and you've only got stats in solo, that does actually mean something, at least to some people. And I could understand if you merge the queues, on average, at least if you are a solo queuer, what I would say is that if you are a solo queuer, on average, people on your side and on the other side, because there's groups around, will become more coordinated. And on average, things will change. And this could be to the detriment of solo queue players, just because on average, they're going to be at a disadvantage compared to groups.
True.
Not necessarily one. I definitely
Yeah.
think no matter how this goes, this might just be one of the breaking points for the game.
Well, the way I see it is that, if they don't do anything, group Q is kind of dead for groups anyway. I mean, it's going down as it is. Ian's motion there is the perfect example. And then if they don't, so basically, so it's mainly what I'm trying to get at is that if they don't fix it, it's going to go down. If they try to fix it, there's the potential that it may go up or it may go down.
Yeah.
So if we had the choice of a guaranteed down, which is where we're already at, or the potential to go up or down as we're already going, I would take the half and half chance.
Yeah, for anyone who studied economics or project management or anything like this, it's a very basic risk-benefit analysis.
Yeah, exactly.
This change is definitely more beneficial than doing nothing.
Yeah, so let them do their month-long test, whatever it is, to collect their data. And then if things don't pan out and, our opinions our ideas are proven to be horrible, then yeah, like I will eat my words and say, yes, that was a bad idea.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and say, oh, the PGI just did it wrong and they went ahead and screwed up. No. Like, I will go ahead and eat my words and say, yes. I was wrong. Let's go back to the old method and let's try 8v8. I have no ego to bruise in this. I just want to see the game survive.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Just let me talk for a second. I want to put something in context. Okay, basically, like when I went off on a rant just then, I don't like people that actually go ahead and bring down other people as far as like player skill level. So like people that that's my main thing. I don't respect those type of people that actually do that kind of stuff where they get on comms saying you 4 sucked. That kind of stuff. I really don't respect those people. People that bring people up in positive modes or positive like attitudes, like, hey, we'll get him next time, or try this. This might be a little bit better if you change out the lasers to this or something like that. Talking to people, I respect them a lot more. And so, like the people that are, we're gonna, so negative on the forums and so negative like in chats and all that kind of stuff. I really don't. I personally don't like that because I used to be that type of person. And so I know how it is, like when I did Mechwarrior 4 comp. And I see that happening in these different people, and I know that type of attitude. And I just don't respect that. And that's why I went off in a total rant. Basically, there are some people that do that, and I still respect them because I know the background of them. But there's a lot of people that I just like, I don't want anything to do with you, man. Sorry, type thing. Because yeah, that's my thing, basically. I don't hate you. Yeah. It's just, I just don't respect you, type of thing.
To touch on that, I would say, I play plenty of solo queue, and there's good players and bad players who have a terrible attitude, who just blame everybody else, who are absolutely horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it happens. The only thing is when it gets into the forums, it's text-based, and not everyone is very good at writing. So you can't just tell by the way they're talking whether they're being really toxic or not. So it's hard to always.
It's hard to figure it out. And actually, this is why I'm glad that we do a podcast, because sometimes you need that main instant reaction to be checked in real time or to give an opinion in real time. The problem with a forum is that you might put something out there and kind of like, how Biter said, you might not be the most linguistic person in text. So your forum post might come off as what you're not
Yeah.
trying to portray and put out there. But then once it's out there, you might have to go to work, you might have to go to bed, and then people come back and see your post and they say something, and then so like I really like that us four can real talk in real time to really flesh out the ideas and not rely on a old school antiquated text-based system.
Yeah.
Like, so that's why I was saying the forum it's a very double-edged blade. But if it were me, I would lock it down, put a vote system in the actual game. Whenever you log in, you see the announcement and you can just make a decision when you see it and put it to a vote. Or also too, I mean, I appreciate that the devs, they wanted input, but when it all comes down to it, Paul, you're the dev. Russ, you're the president. You can go ahead and just ignore everything and put it to a test and just because when it comes down to it, they may have already decided that they're going to do it.
Yeah.
The forum post really adds nothing to the topic.
It just allows lets people know.
Yeah.
Like, does he
But-
ask for extended feedback or anything like that in the original
No.
text?
No, he really doesn't. I mean, you could just keep it as a one post from the dev and just, let it
Well,
go.
that is what they've done. He has just done a post saying this is what we got in mind, and at some point we'll see what they implement, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just to touch again on touch on what Ian said, the cost benefit analysis. Obviously, the cost from PGI's perspective it's partly is just the time invested. Why put in the effort? So that's on one side of the equation. What is the benefit of merging the queues?
It's was that a rhetorical question, or do you want me to?
I was going in between whether to be rhetorical or not. If you got an answer, I'll leave it open because and then I'll give my answer.
So basically, in my mind, if you implement the change, the cost of it is fairly low. It's only the resources you spend to develop the test and do the test, and the risk is people are going to jump off. But personally, my personal opinion is that's a very small risk. The benefit is the potential winning out of this is people are going to stay loyal, or maybe even people are going to come back. And on the other hand, if you do nothing, you don't have a direct cost, but you have the opportunity cost of people just gradually leaving the game. And there's no way you're winning in that scenario. You're always losing. You're never breaking even if you do nothing. So that's why I'm saying even if the cost is higher and the risk is still there, not vanished, and a success is not guaranteed, I think on average it's still going to be a better outcome.
So this is what I wanted to touch on, was just that why would people want to stick around more with this change?
I mean, you still have comp play. You still have comp play for the 8 versus 8. You still got the tryhards that are jumping there. Do that kind of.
What does this change?
But
why would it make people want to stay more? What does it offer to the player base? I mean, I have an answer. I'm just
It offers more.
I have an answer.
From what I understand, like quick play actually will be you getting games quicker. You have more of a different type of variety type games. You also take out the extra buckets that are there for group play, which group play has always been a complaint about everyone. Like there's no one playing it, and so this knocks it out for the buckets to be shorter, just like it did in faction play.
The benefit,
my answer is people are going to stay because they want to play with their friends, and this is a really fun part. Oh god, sorry for the lighting right now.
That's all right.
One guy on Reddit did an analysis like, everyone who's suggesting merchant queues is one of the terrible players, like top 70% and not top 99%. You know what I'm saying. But interestingly enough, what some people pointed out, most of the people advocating have played little to none in the past months. So
that's because
this to me is kind of an indicator that people are interested in this, with the idea that if they can play with their friends, maybe it's worth coming back. Maybe the game might still be fun.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the reason why, my Discord, where we used to play this game a lot, is that we would usually play as a group because we want to play with friends. But because we've lost that ability, hence why our stats are lower in left. But if this allows us to play as groups again and to play for, it sounds cheesy, for the friendship aspect, then yeah, our stats will go up and we'll come back and play.
Oh, Larson, you're on the group. You're on the group list, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Better watch out.
Ooh, I'm in the group list. So? So what? But you're talking to a person who's never cared about my stats.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
How do I care?
Yeah. So exactly. That's what I wanted to touch on. That was the game currently caters to, if you want a casual experience and you don't mind playing alone, you go solo queue, easy peasy. That's the option. And whilst their experience is being downgraded a bit, there's a large demographic of people who just have a couple of friends who want to jump on casual matches, and group queue is just not doing that purpose right now, because you're stuck waiting there for 10-20 minutes if you get a match. And that's if you get a match. Sometimes you could be stuck there for half an hour waiting for a match if you're in less populous times. This will mean if it's just you and one friend, you'll always be able to play, and that is a huge benefit and upside. Just you and a couple of friends are able to play together, whereas in regards to the sweaty tryhards, they can now do casual play in group queue again and play against other groups, and that again, they're not relying on just Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if they really want something extra formal, yes, there is indeed competitive, and if they have the time, they can sit down and play faction drop still. So yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits to this. The downside is, of course, the question is just how many of those group players will come back, and how many solo players will leave as a consequence of it, being a little more, coordinated on average.
That goes for both sides, though. Like you're going to still have groups on your side and groups on that side, so it just all depends on the amount of who's grouping with you type thing. I guess from their aspect of like club, still clubbing. So that's the whole thing. And this guy's a passive aggressive dude. Like I can totally tell. Yeah. Dude, looking at this, I'm like, oh my god, what is wrong with you, man?
I laugh at this.
Yeah, I'm just for those watching the YouTube video, I brought up on screen share the Charles list snippet. All the people you see here are people who are advocating for the merge of the group, and the majority of these are indeed retired. So, yeah, they were trying to prove a point that everyone who wants to merge is a noob, but realistically, they're bringing up the point that people advocating for it are people who are currently not playing.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, like I didn't know about that post until just now. And wow, that's really funny.
Those type of people I don't respect. Basically that type of person. I really don't respect that type of guy because I just want anything to do with that dude.
I'm not even gonna dive into that here on the podcast, but
no,
man,
damn.
that's a whole other level of fucking.
Every time like someone brings up my stats in game, like, oh, your stat sucks. Like, I don't care. I don't give a crap. I don't care about my stats.
Like, I never followed Jarl's list. And for the people who say that Jarl's list is not the reason, because we've had other elite players that mentioned that Jarl's list is never brought up in this discussion, but then you have stuff like this,
So part of the interesting thing, at least why Giles Lewis could be used as a resource, I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand, would just be that it is interesting because you do get to find out on average how good is the players who are taking for or against, and how much do they play, and how recently have they played, and those are all interesting demographic questions. Like, at least again, to play devil's advocate, it would be this could be a great opportunity for players who have left to come back, but there's often there's a lot of games that have tried to recapture lost players by catering to that demographic, and a lot of them won't come back. It's a big question of, will those group players return? And in the end, you just won't ever find out. I think I had mentioned, at least in the forums here, people talking about, I think I very much agree with this point, there should not be a PTS. Just there's such a small amount of players, you don't want to have just a weekend PTS. What does that prove? It
Yeah.
doesn't really prove anything. I think that's why, and I like that they just said group queues now 8v8. We're just going to see what happens, and that should be exactly the same implementation for this. I mean, we've gotten a bit of warning ahead of time, but in the end, just one day suddenly they say, all right, we've merged the 2 queues, go and have fun.
Well, like one thing that like I want to say, it's kind of like the top elite guys that are complaining about it like that much, that they're like the TV repair guys, right? So like you're sitting there and you don't have those anymore, right? So like TV repair guy sitting out at a shop does this thing.
Go on.
What? Does this thing.
Go on.
And basically does this thing. It's like I don't like change, and so change is actually throughout technology changes, because now you could just buy a new TV for less money than it is for that. So change is happening, but that guy just sitting there and going, "What the hell?" And he has to close up his shop. Same thing with what's happening here. No, I don't like change. I don't want to have change whatsoever. And so you'll be sitting there, and a couple months down the road, 6 months, 7 months, the game's ending. And they're sitting there like, well, I made sure there was no group queues or, merging the queues. It's like, well, okay, now the game's dead. Nothing's going to happen. So what are you going to do now? Type thing. They got to do this. They have to do this because the player base is dwindling. So this will be one of the things. And cost
There's
analysis.
a key demographic they're missing out on. Small groups of friends who want to have quick casual matches. They're missing that out right now, and that is what this is benefiting. And that's why the solo queuers will take a bit of a hit, a little bit. We don't know how much. I'm imagining it's a minor hit, but you never know. And you could capture a bunch of players back. And that's,
exactly.
Yeah. And I'm going to advocate for a thing that I'm always advocating on this podcast. If this change, when this change comes through, it's up to us to get people back in. If you know people you've played with in the past who maybe might be interested in checking out the game again, make sure to hit them up. Make sure to get them in. Even if they don't stick around, just temporary boost to player numbers is going to do so much for this game.
And the more data we have, the more it's going to benefit.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we did like 12-man micropulse Nova rushes and whatnot. And that's just not really been possible for a while, particularly since whoever we're up against were usually full 12-man teams of really good players who just melted us.
By the way, we've been doing an 8-man Nova rush last night.
Yes, that should still work, and 8v8 should be even more effective in some ways because it's more brawly.
It was terrible, but
I mean, but still, but that's the whole thing, is that going against the odds to me is actually part of the challenge and part of the fun.
Though I was going to say that at least with 4-man groups, depending on tonnage limits and whatnot, like I was saying to Lash, we could do for like just even we have a large number of people want to play. Everyone just take your rack mechs. Everyone take rack Shadow Hawks, and we're just going to make a very orky battlefield.
Like I want to. If you have 8 people for 2 groups, then one side has racks, the other side has racks. So there's going to be racks
exactly.
flying. That's just confused what's going on.
Split. It's gonna be a fun time, at least for the casual players. At least I mean.
Yes.
And those are the people who kind of left the game. And if you do something like this and it works, it's gonna bring us back, man.
Don't be a TV repairman.
Yeah, change is needed to survive.
Change needed. Or the horseshoe repair guy. It's not going to happen. The buggy repair
guy. They will need to reduce
the
number of buckets as this number of players reduce one way or the other. And this is one way to retain or try and catch back that group dynamic that was completely missing for quite some time in the game.
True.
Yeah.
And one other thing too, guys, before we actually wrap this up, is be constructive in your comments, please. Basically give some ideas, realistic ones if you guys can. Don't be like just don't be like me, I guess. But definitely be constructive, like if you guys can.
I would kindly ask to not do any name calling, no personal attacks. Some people are behaving like utter assholes. We shouldn't get down on their level. Don't call them out on it.
Yeah.
Just ignore them.
Yeah, true. Okay, so that was episode 119 of the First Circuit podcast. We have tonight our hosts were Ian.
Hello and goodbye now.
Larsh.
See you later, guys.
Biter.
Lark.
And myself, Woodboy10025. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the battlefield.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.